Hello everybody, this is Sugar Inferno. I am using a voice filter because I am a transgender man and I have very bad voice dysphoria, so I'm sorry if it sounds creepy. But anyways, I'm doing a Q&A for Ella's emergency makeover. I will have some screenshots of questions that you asked, but sometimes I just get a general question that's asked often and so it'll just show up in text. And I'll also include some questions that no one really asked but that I just wanted to explain. And in the background, I am drawing Ella in my art style. In Ella's emergency makeover, I was trying to copy the Americanized anime style of 2000s flash games for girls. So that's not really my real art style, I prefer this. But that's enough ranting, into the questions we go. How did you come up with the concept? Everyone's already guessed that the Lacey series has been a huge inspiration to me. Actually, the first time I saw Lacey's dress up game, I was watching it with my sibling, and I looked at them and I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm going to make a horror flash game because it was such a cool concept and it's so cool. I'm such a big fan of Lacey, but this ended up being less horror and more just sad. But some people do call it horror, and I wouldn't disagree, but I wouldn't really call it that if someone asked me what it is. I would say, if anything, it's a drama, maybe, but I feel like that's not the right word either. But, anyways, after watching Lacey's dress up, I went into a creative little frenzy, and for 3 days, not straight, but for a very long time, I started doing all the art and the story, and I didn't take any big breaks. It was all very quick, and then I burnt myself out for forever. But I finished Ella's emergency makeover. And though, makeover games, the Flash games on Girls Go Games in general was a very big inspiration, I'd say the main game that was the inspiration, and a lot of you guys have noticed this, is this game, Ugly to Pretty. I'll put a bit of footage on here just in case you guys have never seen it before, or maybe you'll see it and recognize it and be like, oh my god, I played that as a kid. I actually played this one when I was older than my Flash game phase when I was a young kid, and so I was able to notice just how fucked up it was. You had to pull out this girl's braces, and there was a warning not to do this in real life, but I feel like if there was actually a kid out there who was really insecure about their braces and they saw this game, they might get that idea. And I think that was a very gross thing to add to the game. And just like with Ella, the girl in the makeover game wasn't even ugly. She just did not fit into the supermodel category of, societal standards that every woman has to be part of. How do you feel about crossover concepts, and what is your social media? Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking about my social media. Here is my Twitter, and here is my TikTok. I post a lot more on there, but it's not really big projects, it's just me posting my art. As for crossovers, I would be insanely flattered if somebody did a crossover, fan art of Ella and Lacey, but I feel like even though Ella was inspired by Lacey, they're very different games. Well, games with air quotes. Lacey's digs more into the horror element, with creepy imagery and a scary backstory. Ella is more addressing the issue with the Flash games and, beauty standards. And so I can't really see Lacey and Ella being in the same universe. But don't let me stop you from making fan art. It would be so cool if there was fan art of my character. Will there be a sequel? There's already a sequel called The War is Over. It's on my YouTube channel. I gave Ella a happy ending in that one because, even though these issues are something I want to talk about, I don't want it to feel hopeless. It's definitely not a hopeless issue. And as for maybe a third video, I kind of doubt it. But, if the inspiration ever strikes me, I guess maybe, but I'm not going to promise anything. What was the message of Ella's emergency makeover? It was, of course, that, we shouldn't force body issues and beauty standards onto children, especially within their media and their games. And this is going to sound controversial, but a lot of people mistook what I was saying as me saying everyone is beautiful. And it is true that everyone is beautiful, but that wasn't really what I was trying to say. My main point is that being beautiful shouldn't be such a huge thing within your life and within little kids' lives and little girls' lives that it actively negatively affects you. That you can't leave the house if you feel like you don't look attractive enough. And it would be amazing if everybody thought that they themselves were beautiful. I feel like it's much more realistic to teach people that you don't have to be beautiful. You know, the world isn't going to find certain people beautiful no matter what, unfortunately. And I don't think that it should matter to people as much as it does whether someone they're looking at is ugly or pretty, especially when they're kids. Is Ella female to male? Ella is less of a character per se and more of something that you can see yourself in. So I do call her by she, her pronouns, and Ella is a feminine name, but I don't really want to assign her a gender identity because Ella is more of a symbol of something a lot of AFABs who played, Girls Go games went through. And that doesn't mean it's only AFAB people that, can project onto her. That was my target audience. But if you're AMAB or you're a cisgender man, then, if you relate to Lacey, I hope that you'll be able to, cope through her as well. A few commenters have accused me of being sexist against men because I was talking about women's issues. But just because Ella, can be perceived as a woman, and, this is mainly something women go through, it doesn't mean that only women go through it. As you guys know, I am a man, and I went through it. I think the men in those comment sections were just, trying to dismiss things that women felt because they felt, if it's not men being included all the time, then it doesn't matter or something like that. I don't know. I've also had transphobic comments. I try to delete them to keep my comments a safe space, but, I'm sure that there's like a few that slipped past. Luckily, most of the community has been very lovely and very positive, and you guys are all so sweet, and I love you, and I'm sending you so many hugs and kisses. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Will you be making any more content like this in the future? I have actually 2 scrapped ideas that I couldn't do it because it was just too dark and it was kind of like really negatively affecting me while I was writing it. The first one, which was going to be actually after the first Ella's makeover, and I didn't come up with the second one until I scrapped this one. It was going to be a flash game that's like, the Ella's pregnancy thing, or where, you did like a surgery in these Girls Go games for 10-year-olds, except it would be a woman stealing a pregnant princess's baby. Another one that, I actually got pretty far in and also scrapped, that I started working on a little bit after the second Ella's, was going to be, talking about purity culture and the sexualization of young girls and telling them to cover up. But because my trauma with that is very deep, it was way too hard to write, and I didn't want to keep on, triggering myself and, feeling a lot of anxiety about it. Like, it just wasn't fun to make, and I didn't really see a reason to torture myself, and so I stopped. So the answer is, I don't really know if I'm going to make more content like this. If one day I have an idea, and it doesn't hurt to do, then I would love to make more Flash Game content. But right now, I'm in a really good place mentally, and I don't want to fuck it up. You feel me? I think that's all the questions I have. I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support on Ella's emergency makeover. I have had some hate, but it's few and far in between. All of the support is insanely flattering. Y'all are giving me such a big head. And I really hope to see more Flash Game horror content. I hope that you guys have a great night or day or whatever it is wherever you are. Remember to drink water, eat well, take care of your mental health. Alright, bye.